another episode of the BG Show. I'm here to talk about the brand new show Paradise on Hulu, starring Sterling K. Brown and James Marsden. As always, non-spoiler thoughts first. I might break this up a little bit differently. Talk first non-spoiler, then I'm going to talk a little bit about episode 1 specifically, because I think this show is episode 1, then everything else, and then I'll talk about the rest of the show. A little bit of preview into episode 8, the finale. The show has already been picked up for season 2, so I think it's definitely worth getting invested. Again, it's on Hulu. So right out of the bat, non-spoiler thoughts. I think the show's very creative. I always enjoy shows like this. I like shows that take swings. And I like shows that take themselves seriously. It doesn't really get it does get out there, but it takes itself seriously. It's not worried about interjecting humor where it doesn't need to be. They wanted to make a serious show with stakes and with twists. And I think it's definitely worth the watch. It's entertaining. I kind of binged it, but even in a week-to-week format, Sterling K. Brown is really good. There's definitely some things I have an issue with, but overall, I think it's a solid show. I don't think it's an Emmy Award-winning show. I don't think it's a show on the level of Severance. But again, good mystery, good intrigue, some good action, and some good ideas. So I definitely think it's worth the watch. I think it's like a solid 7 out of 10. There's a lot of potential depending on the ending and on where they go in season 2, which I'll get into. But those are my non-spoiler thoughts. Pretty quick. I think there's a lot to spoil here, so let me just fix this. So let me just get into spoiler thoughts now for episode 1. So if you haven't seen anything and you don't want to see episode 1, but if you've only watched episode 1, this is for you as well. So episode 1, James Marsden is the president and Sterling K. Brown is a Secret Service agent, and essentially we're in this, what we assume he's almost like a retired president, or he's still being guarded by the Secret Service, even though he's either still in office or not in office. It's hard to tell, but essentially we find out he is still a sitting president, and it appears to be he's at home, so everything seems to be pretty normal. We're in this kind of suburban town. There's some good joking between the agents. Sterling K. Brown, this one other guy, Billy, and then this other smaller woman who appears to be new. And eventually, as the episode goes on, I guess the first big twist is that James Marsden, Sterling K. Brown finds him dead to a gunshot room, so someone killed the president. But more than this, he doesn't immediately report it. There seems to be some weirdness going on with something missing from the safe, and there seems to be technical protocol, but also clearly Sterling K. Brown knows something that other people don't know. And there's something that seems to be a little bit off. Now, this is when you're starting to, and I went into this show blind, so I don't know anything about it. And you're starting to realize, for me, something was a little bit off, the way they're handling it, the way he's handling it, the way he's processing it. And credit to him, because I think as you go on with the show, you'll realize why that is. Like I said, I don't want to talk about the rest of the show. I only want to talk about spoilers in context to episode 1 now. So he's, he's kind of processing. He seems to have a close relationship with this guy, Billy, who seems to trust him, even though he should trust him from they're both agents, but he seems to trust him more than that. And, eventually they call it in, and we're introduced to this character, Sinatra, who's this billionaire character, this tech billionaire. And essentially, as the episode goes on and on and on, Sterling K. Brown is jogging home, and the big twist, and I guess I was starting to notice it as he was jogging home. Everything is perfect. The first twist is the ducks aren't fake. This maintenance guy is fixing ducks in the pond. And what you realize is that the show is essentially, the set is essentially like the Truman Show. They're on a fake set, and it picks up, and you realize they're in a literal cave that's supposed to be built like a suburban town. And it's in the middle of Denver, Colorado, basically in a mountain. They're living in a mountain in a fake town. It's not the real sun. And yeah, that pretty much is the big twist of this episode, of why they're down there. What, pretty much every question you can think of. What led them down there? What were the events that led them down there? What are their plans for the future? Why people were selected? And then all the rules from, within the new world, how does money work? Are there weapons? Things like that. So I thought it was a really, really interesting kind of take on a new show, something we haven't seen before. It's almost, like I said, almost like the inverse Fallout, right? Because Fallout, they're kind of like, it's all about what happens on this. I mean, there is some stuff underneath. I still have to finish that show, but it's really about like the craziness on the surface and the nuclear radiation. And this show is more about what's going on underneath. So there's a lot more, which I'll get into. Spoilers, if you haven't seen past episode 1. Obviously, there's the intrigue about who killed the president and that mystery. But then there's also the mystery of why are they down here? What's this whole kind of fake existence down here? What's like the origin of it? And then the third option is what's going on upstairs, outside, if anything. So let me just get into spoilers for the rest of the episode now. And I guess I'll start with episode 7 and working my way back. And so you don't really know what happens on this day, right? Episode 7, in HBO kind of form, is what I think will be the craziest episode. And they really show you what happened leading up to this. The president made decisions, and really, really crazy because it shows you like they had handpicked people for this set existence. And I guess taking it a step back, there seems to be like volcanoes or climactic... something with the nuclear ice caps, which lead to giant tsunamis, almost like day after tomorrow. But then on top of that, it leads to nuclear war because countries are starting to panic to preserve resources. And so essentially it's like a nuclear war. And they build this underground civilization through the help of billionaires and through the help of this psychologist who's a friend of the billionaire who essentially was in charge of selecting every single person. And there's a list called Versailles. And on episode 7, when we talk about, like, basically when shit hits the fan, everyone was lied to in the government and in the country. Only these select people knew what was going to happen. And essentially they had to basically bail on all these White House employees. And it was pretty raw. It was a pretty good episode. I think it was a good... We've seen so many, like, apocalyptic things, but we're seeing, like, the White House angle, like a realistic White House angle of what it would look like if the president was in this situation. So I think that's pretty cool because this is what would happen. They would protect the president and probably some important people, and everyone else would be pretty much left to fend for themselves. But then before that, so that's episode 7. After episode 1, we still have the mystery of who killed the president and why. And essentially this billionaire, they call her Sinatra, we think she killed the president. We don't have 100% confirmation. She definitely sent her agent, Billy. Billy was in this romantic relationship with the other agent. It turns out she was working for Sinatra the whole time and poisoned him and killed him in episode 4. And so he's off the map. And I guess that's the one weakness of this show is I think it's unrealistic. Sterling K. Brown doesn't realize that this agent... The second Billy died, he should have been really suspicious of her because she's the only other person with access to both the president and Billy, so I think it's pretty obvious. I think it's obvious that she has a gun. She used a revolver to kill him. I think that's obvious as well. But again, I think it is also interesting if they had someone from upstairs do it. And that opens up the whole can of worms because, like I said, for season 2, it matters what happens in the finale. But basically in this episode is... The evil billionaire Sinatra, the woman, wants to send Sterling K. Brown on a mission upstairs to kind of like check out what's going on up there and survivors and things like that, and find out the guy who killed the president who's upstairs. She could be lying. I don't know if the show is going to take a swing and go. I think they're going to half-ass it. I don't think they're going to do like a whole season up there, but I think that's going to be season 2 is kind of like the relationship between the survivors in the world and outside the world and that kind of thing. Which is interesting because I still feel like they haven't set up that many characters. I think the one weakness is there aren't that many characters set up in the neighborhood. Like other than the high level people, we don't know just like, we know like the one waitress in the diner, but I think they could have had him had way more interactions with people and make him more feel like a regular. Because even in this fake town, when there's only like 25,000 people, it still feels like he doesn't know that many people. Also, I think in the show they've been down there for like 2 weeks. Which I think is weird because I could be wrong, but it seems like, at least from my perspective, like they've been down there way longer than that. Because they all seem very comfortable and they don't seem as stressed or freaked out by anything. So all of that really, really, I think that was a little bit wonky. And again, another thing I didn't like is ending episode 7 with like the classic thing where the guy's about to get the bad guy and then she kidnaps his family. I think was very weak. I think they could have done something a little bit better. I hate that. shoot her in the leg or something. I don't know. Just, I think that was a little bit, it was just annoying that we finally got to a climax and they did that. So I hope this doesn't bleed over into season 2 because this billionaire character is really annoying. But I guess they need her because they kind of need a villain. So we'll see. I think the show is good. I think it was smart to kind of use James Marsden for the whole season, even though he wasn't really alive after episode 1, with flashbacks. But yeah, I really liked episode 7. I feel like kind of he played the moral dilemma very well of the president. Even the scene meeting the maintenance worker who works there, who doesn't really realize what's going on. You kind of realize this is really like what the situation a president would be in. So that's kind of my preview for the finale. I think it's a solid show so far. We're going to see what happens in the finale. It's already been picked up for season 2, and I'd imagine season 3. I read that this show has plans for 3 seasons. But this is the kind of show I could see. I mean, this is the kind of show that can drag on and on and on for 6, 7 seasons. I really could see that. But if they do it precisely, it could also just be 3. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thanks for watching. And as always, I'll see you on the next one.